again, these are people and institutions. It's not just some massive institution that nobody has a chance to do anything with, right? These are people, we can talk to them, we can educate them. I think a lot of the, the FUD, right, of mining and Bitcoin is really just, they don't understand it, right? And it's kind of this odd thing that has a bad connotation in certain people's, in the way certain people view it. But at the end of the day, when you really peel it back, what is the difference between consuming electricity to mine Bitcoin or run a Bitcoin mining ASIC or a server and running massive data centers that process video games or Netflix or whatever else people do on the internet, right? I would argue that the electricity consumption is probably a drop in the bucket to a lot of the things we use energy for. We just rationalize that energy use, which makes sense. I think we should, as a civilization, use more energy per person more often in a more efficient and sustainable way. I think that would be great for everyone.
So like, like from that perspective, why is that the case? This I think is something important for people to really understand. Why is more energy per person good?
Yeah, I mean, energy is leverage, and in my opinion, it's leverage on your time, right? If I can, if I can plug something in and basically have it doing as much work as what would have been hundreds of man hours, 10 years ago, that's a massive lever on my time, and it gets me a lot of value, and I can create things, and there's a lot of benefit to using energy. I think the misconception is that energy bad for some reason, right? But you can look at any study and any kind of historical trend over time, countries and kind of eras in history where we use more energy, human flourishing is off the charts in terms of what it used to be.
Exactly.
It's straight up and to the right? I mean, the more energy use, the better off people are in general. And I think the people conflate energy use with maybe emissions or global warming or things like that. But those are two different things, right? Energy is just like work over time, right? It's like being able to do something with less. And so I think it's an education thing, right?
Yeah.
And then, the idea that Bitcoin emits more than, I don't know, charging an electric vehicle is just kind of comical if you really understand it, because, a Bitcoin miner doesn't emit anything, right? It's the way the electricity is generated, and it's all upstream from there. And in a lot of cases, mining kind of gravitates towards underutilized energy assets. And a lot of times those are generally renewables, where they're kind of cyclical in nature. They might be more intermittent when they can generate energy. So I just think it's a different type of customer for energy.
Yeah.
And we need to acknowledge it.
No, definitely. And the last part you mentioned is like the perspective of going into a country that doesn't have a fantastic infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's a lot of places where people can harness energy. They just never had the money or the tools put into place to do so. And you can really change that with Bitcoin mining. I think that's something that people will be a lot more fascinated with, because it starts with, like you're saying, you need to create a better civilization. Well, they need electricity. They need to be able to heat their water, heat their homes. They need to have, the tools and the vehicles and everything necessary to continue to move up that scale. And when you look at that and then you go even further, you realize that there, especially with sustainable energy, it can be like a circular closed loop, where you're not just using energy to like mine Bitcoin, but you're also able to take that hot air, or if you're in hydro, the hot water, and then you can repurpose that. So it really is this like beautiful mathematical circle that without like much of a greed-based incentive can produce resources and energy and save time, and also provide money to people in places where they don't have any of that in the first place.
Yeah, it's funny, even just, I mean, outside of the US, I think is a big case, but right now we're operating mainly in North America, and a lot of our customers are in the United States. And what I see is there are hundreds of, rural communities, maybe agriculture communities, former kind of large infrastructure communities that because of these whatever it is, they're no longer at their peak, right? But miners will come in because there's cheap power, and what they'll do is they'll set up, and overnight, I mean, they'll build almost a small industry in this random farm town in the middle of eastern Idaho, right? And there will be an entire supply chain all within the town to service a mining operation. You'll have technicians, operators, repairers, you'll have fabricators building racks, you'll have HVAC kind of contracted to build data centers, right? In the middle of, and it's all driven by free market incentives, and it's almost a revitalization of some of these places.
Yes.
And so it's really fascinating, and it's not just happening in your town or my town, it's happening everywhere in the world where you can access electricity and you can connect to the internet, you can mine Bitcoin as long as your costs are low enough. So it's kind of a forcing function for a lot of this stuff. And what comes out of that? Well, benefits to the community, and over time, like, there will be more and more reasons to build other industry there, right? If you have Bitcoin miners kind of paving the way in a lot of respects, like you're building out electricity infrastructure, you're building out some different industry to kind of service that. Well, now you have some skilled labor in these places. Now it might make sense to open up other types of businesses and industries. So I think we're massively in early days, but I'm seeing it every day. Like, there are, I can't tell you how many groups I just can't even believe are operating at the scale they are in the middle of a random place you'd never know to point to on a map, right?
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of places in the South, like a lot of cities that are like tech hubs, and they're just like waiting for this to kind of develop better. You're just gonna get more people who are then educated and passionate, and they'll be fascinated. Whenever I'm, like meeting someone new, like my girlfriend has a lot of engineer friends, and they're like all finishing up, college and thinking, what are they going to do after university? And I'm always like, well, what do you know about Bitcoin mining? Like there's a lot of Bitcoin mining facilities that need help, just like structuring how they're going to do this entire operation. Like, I think you'd be fascinated by what you can do, and even with like selling like hot air and recirculating that. And I don't know, I think that a lot of people are nerdy and passionate, and for conversations like this, the goal is to just like give something a little bit more rational and show the perspective from people who are working in the fields of Bitcoin mining every day.